Hi students. This project is the final project, the package design project, and I want to do a quick little overview on how you might approach it since I didn't really give you step-by-step instructions other than to tell you what to do with the package. So here we go. We would like to begin with exactly all the things we've been learning in Illustrator thus far, using the pen tool, opening files, adding gradients, creating graphics, using text, etc. So one of the things you might want to do is the die line template that I provided for you in JetNet if you want to open it from Illustrator. So you would launch Illustrator and then go to that file that I provided for you in JetNet, and then you open up that file and then you resave as your last name underscore package.ai. It's a PDF file. The next thing you're going to do is you will open up the layers panel. We're going to be working with layers, and because we opened up that die line template, you go ahead and you can lock it. Now this isn't a required template. You can actually use any package of your choice and take it apart and then measure it or scan it in and then redraw over a different kind of package. It's just easier to use a small package, just so you know, because excuse me, the package you want to fit on a letter size, especially if you're going to print it out. I think that would just be a smart idea. And certainly you can use the JC printers, because all of you are eligible to print out at the Solution Center at the college if you do not have access to a color ink printer anywhere else. Okay, and that is free of cost to you. Okay, so I'm using the layers panel and I'm going to create a new layer over the top. That is what I'm going to use the underlayer to kind of guide me, but I believe this is a gum package originally, and so it was taken apart and then I drew around the edges. And so I'm giving it to you as a free template in case you don't want to use a package of your choice, but I encourage you all to do your own. The example of the picture for this week's unit is a great example of a student going off and doing their own and then going forward and doing the extra credit portion of this assignment, which then is to print it out, assemble it, and then take a photograph and include the photograph in the folder. Okay, so to get started, I would grab the pen tool and I would just start to do, you would just pretty much follow along. So I did an option click there, click, click, click. You're probably wondering where my lines went over here. I'll tell you about that in a moment. I'm going to go back to that area that I just created right here in a moment. I can't really see what I'm doing. Same with here. What's going on is I have a fill happening here, and I do not want the fill. So if I go to my selection tool, I've closed my path, so this is an entire shape, and I want that just because I want to make a background. This has a fill of white, so it's covering up everything underneath it here. So I'll go ahead and do a none. See, now you can see it. I do want to add a stroke, and that stroke is going to be, let's see if we can open up our swatches panel. Swatches. Many times what happens when you create, when you open an image from its PDF, when you do open right from Illustrator, open a document, One of the interesting things you'll find when you go to swatches is you will have 0 swatches. So one way to get rid of that is to go to your, your swatches panel options, and then you go to Open Swatch Library, Default Swatches, and then from then on you kind of look at the correct workspace that you're working with here. And that might be print, in our case it could be, and then you can see from there on out you've got all of these swatches available to you. You can also select them if you want, so in holding shift and select however many you like within the swatches, pull them all into here that way. That's another way to do it. Or to avoid this altogether, instead of opening from Illustrator, you would then place this image, the PDF template, right into a brand new Illustrator document. So just some thoughts when you do come across that. A lot of students come across it and they ask me what it's about, and that is why, because we're basically opening from, and Illustrator does not recognize any of its default swatches within the die line template that I provided you, so it goes ahead and then just gives you nothing. So what I did is I just went from a default print workspace and I brought those right into here. So now I have access to them. Okay, so we're good. So the next part is, now we're on a second layer. We've got our background layer, which we can turn off at any time, but we want to be on the second layer. And from the second layer, we created a outline of that package. And now what I want to do is I really want that package to have kind of a bright outline to it so I can recognize what it is. You can see that when I had the fill turned on earlier, we want to make sure that we go to the direct selection tool. I want to then move some of these around because I really couldn't see it earlier. And then maybe you want to add a couple anchor points to adjust. And go back. Adjust it as you go. So that it doesn't look too crazy here. And this is sort of the bleed. The reason why I'm not doing it right over the package is because we want to have a bleed for the printing. Now, if the press were to somehow stagger just a little bit, we want to make sure that that whole package is actually covered with a background image. So that's where this comes in next. So we can actually go ahead and name this if we want. Background, and then maybe this background image has like maybe, oops, make sure you're on the fill. Then you go back to your swatches, and then this background image might have a color to it. Not really excited about those colors, so maybe I go to like a green. And then if you don't like that, maybe you go to a gradient of sorts. And one way to do that, pull this out. Let's just sort of mess with the swatches on the gradient. There we go. And I can always adjust those or reconfigure the gradient. I'm not sure how that would work. Okay, and I'm doing a generic design right now. The next portion I might want to do is to add yellow polka dots. And then I can group these And I can option click and drag for more, option click and drag for more, and keep going and flipping if I need to flip, reflecting. There you go. Making sure that those are somewhat straight and not too crooked here. And then from there on out, you can continue to create different backgrounds. Of course, if I want to flip, so that's a start to a package. Now that's a background, so you can always save all of those as your background. If I move it, it doesn't get the background, the back of the dialing. So you might actually move this above so you can see where you're at here, and then you know you have a background. Then you would start with the text next, and you can always see it that way. And you might need to see where you're at. For example, you want to fold your package and then create a panel. Maybe this is going to be the front of your panel, and maybe even this is the front. So that's something you have to figure out so that you can place the text where it's supposed to be. Okay. So I'm next going to add a third layer, and I'm going to say text. Put that on top at this point. There we go. And I'm going to lock the background as well so I don't inadvertently touch something and move it. And then I'm going to start with text. So you just design like so. So for example, if this is how you want to start, remember creating outlines. Type create outlines is a way to finalize your text. And then of course place this in the proper panel. Okay, so you would then go ahead and do all of the nutritional values and any fun, humorous tagline for your individual product. Make up a product, have fun with it. Do not make it boring. I want you to be creative with this. This is just a start of how you might set up the document. Print it out, photograph it if you need to as well. I'll see you in the next video.